AITA for kicking my BIL out after he referred to himself as the father of my child? I know the title is a bit off, but let me explain. Me, 30F, and my wife, 29F, welcomed our son into this world a year ago. Both of our families are very accepting of us, but my wife's family has this weird obsession with passing on the family genes, which made adopting out of the question very early on. Me and my wife have always wanted to start a family, but things got difficult when my wife found out she was infertile. We knew her family would be understanding, but I am terrified of pregnancy. From what I have been told, I am almost physically identical to my bio mom who died during childbirth. So that has led me to believe I wouldn't hold a pregnancy very well. After a few months of brainstorming and let down, Mill suggested that we do IVF, using my eggs and my BIL's sperm, and let my wife carry the baby. I was skeptical at first but gave in because the plan hit all marks. Her family get their genes passed on. My wife and I get to start a family. And I don't have to carry the baby. The procedure was a bit expensive, but my wife's grandma happily covered the cost since our baby would be the first of the new generation in their family. Everything went great. My wife loved being pregnant, aside from the morning sickness. And we were more than overjoyed to welcome our baby boy in the winter. The problem arose last week. We were preparing for my son's first birthday when Bill made a comment about how he should get a say in the planning as the child's father. I was shocked. I cringed and told him that he wasn't. He just provided the sperm. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "Yeah. So he's our child." I looked to my wife, whose mouth was wide open, and Mill wasn't making eye contact. Before he could say anything else, I demanded that he get out of my house and that he'd be able to come to the party when he apologized. He got angry but left when my wife started to cry. My wife has always struggled with self-esteem, and her infertility really took a toll on her. For months I had to constantly reassure her that she's an amazing mother and that she wasn't wrong. She faced a lot of homophobia and misogyny growing up. Sil called me later that day and called me a bitch. I argue that Bill had no right saying any of that, but Sil just kept yelling. Me and my wife have cut all contact with her family. It's turned into something bigger than it needs to be, but I refuse to let someone call my family incomplete again. Call me dramatic, but I grew up with family in and out and never knowing who is real family, and I refuse to let the same happen to my son. My wife is devastated over losing contact, but neither of us want to forgive Bill until he apologizes. So, am I the asshole? Edit. We don't know where Mill stands. She's expressed that Bill was out of line but has also said that he is technically the father. Mill steps out once she senses any conflict. That's why she wasn't making any contact. Bill has signed a contract that he is nothing more than a sperm donor. Edit. Also, Sil is my wife's sister, not BIL's wife. BIL's wife isn't in close contact with us, so I'm not sure she even knows what's going on. Wow. Just wow. I'm inclined to believe that Mill has already had at least one conversation about this with your Bill. Because she stayed silent. Now Sil is going drag you too? I cannot stress this enough. I hope you have your ducks in a row from a legal perspective, because this sounds like a huge dumpster fire. I'm really sorry that you're both facing this situation, however. I hope you find comfort in knowing that you're facing it together. NTA. NTA, you need to speak with lawyers and the clinic where everything was done to verify that he is only seen as a donor with no rights over the child, while the child is biological from him. He gave over rights when he donated. It might be that he and Sil are stressed because they haven't gotten pregnant, and in his mind he has a son out in the world. But his role as uncle, and they do not get to have a say in how the child is raised or how birthdays get celebrated. If your wife did have issues with her family about being in a same-sex relationship, this might be their way of ensuring your son has a male role model in his life. But that again is a choice you and your wife make. NTA. What an absolutely ridiculous and cruel thing to say. Your child will not have a father, but two wonderful moms. And that's okay. He doesn't get to be involved as a father, because he was a donor. That's all he is. A donor. He can be an uncle, but not a dad until he has his own children. Of course you're NTA. But do you have a written contract about his obligations? He's obviously going to overstep if this is happening when he turns 1. NTA. Your wife's entire family sounds toxic. He is not the father. He was just a sperm donor and that's it. I think it's weird that they literally manipulated you into doing this in the first place because they wanted to pass on the family genes. That's insane. Your wife has enabled this behavior. But she grew up that way. I get it's difficult to stand up for herself. It seems like she's finally doing it now, and she needs to put the child you have together first. It never should have got to this point anyways. There's nothing wrong with adoption. Absolutely NTA. Sperm donor or not, that is still you and your wife's child, and he was simply a small part in making him. You and your wife care for him and went through the entire pregnancy together, and that makes both you and your wife his mothers. No father involved at all. NTA. He should not have agreed to be a sperm donor if he expected to be more than that. He absolutely does owe you both an apology, if he's having a harder time than he expected with his role. It sounds like he should talk to someone. It's absolutely okay if it's harder than expected for him to take an uncle role to his bio kid. It's not okay for him to take that out on your family, and if you don't take steps now to quash that, it'll be confusing for your son. NTA. But I hope you have something in writing. Sounds like Bill is looking for a much bigger relationship with your son than you and your wife are planning. And that can get messy fast. NTA. He's the sperm donor. And the uncle. And the fact that he thinks otherwise is reason enough you need to get a lawyer just to make sure. That is very, very clear. NTA. This is horrifying. Please contact a lawyer ASAP in case he tries to make any legal claims of parenthood. Your first priority should be protecting your family, not reconciling with your in-laws. NTA. I hope you have all your legal I's dotted and T's crossed in regards to the donation. He sounds like he would try to sue for visitation and custody. As the relative of a donor, I find this appalling. Any part of mine in the children's lives is at the discretion of the parents. NTA. But I'm surprised he feels that way based on what you described. Did you all do any legal paperwork where he relinquished his rights? Has your wife legally adopted your child? NTA. Do you guys have a contract? If not, get one drawn up ASAP that states he was nothing but a sperm donor and is definitely not a parent. NTA. He is a sperm donor, not a father. But am I right in saying that your wife carried her biological niece? Am I understanding this wrong? NTA. I would advise you to get legal action regarding the donation from his part if you haven't done already. Make sure that he will never have a legal right over this baby boy. Ever. And there's a penalty if he even mentions to the boy that he is the donor without your consent. If in the future you want to tell your boy how he came to the world, it is your choice as his parents. NTA. He doesn't need to be around to hurt your wife and possibly fill your son's head with nonsense. NTA. He's nothing more than an uncle and a sperm donor. Actually, he'll be lucky if he's allowed to be an uncle to your child. NTA. And what a petty situation to use this in. Having say in a birthday party? He signed a contract. He's just a donor. He doesn't get to throw his weight around like he's an actual parent. NTA. Shocked with his attitude. But is it possible that he's struggling with all this? Having feelings about the experience? Or just being an asshole? Why would he be an asshole like that with her own sister? A horrible joke and, I'm terribly sorry, could happen. But assume he's the father of her sister's baby? NTA. That's a boundary that should have been set up before anything moved forward though.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.